Hi everybody, I wanted to do a video regarding Ethereum. Now, I wanted to go over whether you should trade or mine. This depends. I started purchasing Ethereum after it rose by 400% in value, which caught my attention. So I decided to convert 1.8 Bitcoins into Ethereum, which got me around 64 Ethereum. And I've been, just for testing purposes, using my computer to mine with the built-in GPU. So far made almost 2 Ethereum in about a week and a half. Um, now, what a lot of people are talking about at the moment is Ethereum taking over, or the term they are using is dethroning Bitcoin. There's a lot that needs to happen before Ethereum can actually be dominant. And even then, I don't really think Ethereum will be dominant. I think it'll be used in a lot of things. It has a lot of potential. It offers a lot of uh, options for programmers, developers to develop different platforms to use than Bitcoin. Bitcoin, from what I understand, is a lot more complex, um, and the development is really controlled by one entity, Bitcoin Core or Blockstream, as people keep saying, and I do believe so. Now, at the moment, I believe the current price, as I made this video, is around $11 US dollars. Now, I do expect the price of Ethereum to rise again in a month or so, but so for it to actually get there, there's a lot that needs to happen. So far, the first step in cryptocurrency for it to be adopted and valued is exchanges to accept it. And right now, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing exchanges actually accepting Bitcoin as a currency, and so for people to trade. I use Bittrex, um, Bittrex, to trade for Ethereum. Now, this is the first step. The second step is for wallets to develop, to be introduced to the masses to store Ethereum. Currently, there's a wallet you can get from Ethereum.com or .org, I don't recall. Anyway, um, and that's one form of wallet, but this is just like your client, a regular client that you have for Bitcoin. However, you do want a wallet on your phone, or one that you can access via web or cold storage or whatever. You'll need all that, and that's one thing. You need a lot of alternatives in businesses to create wallets. You need another corporation or Coinbase, for example, to accept Ethereum. Now that will take Ethereum to the next level. First, you build the infrastructure where you can trade it and store it. Then you need to be able to transact with it. This is the next level where Ethereum will rise in value. Once you can actually transact, you can buy a ball of water with Ethereum, or a house, like people have done with Bitcoin. Until then, Ethereum will not rise in value that far. You will see a price increase because that's a new thing and a lot of people are buying into it. However, you do need to realize that the total number of ethers there is 221 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, that's a lot, and the block time is a lot shorter than Bitcoin, a lot. So you're introducing a lot of ether every few seconds, 15 seconds or something. I'll have to check the numbers again, but so there's that works against the value of Ethereum. However, the real thing that will actually take it to allow the value to increase is its adoption by businesses. Otherwise, it's useless. What's the point of storing cryptocurrency or exchanging it if you can't use it for anything else to purchase things or transact with it. The big thing with Ethereum is that it allows you to use or accept or deal or transact with smart contracts. What is that really? For example, you want to lease an apartment. The landlord could simply use a smart contract basically to allow you to use the dwelling, rent the dwelling for, let's say, 1,000 ethers a month, and that's it. It every month, by you signing this contract, your wallet is debited 1,000 ethers per month. That's an example. Purchasing a vehicle, that's a contract. This is just taking it and putting it on the blockchain rather than having a physical copy. For example, purchasing music. This is the biggest thing. Now, is there something like it in Bitcoin? Yes, it's under development. You see, every bit in Bitcoin, in one Bitcoin, can be programmable. So the only problem is that the block size needs to be increased. Otherwise, you're just dealing with 1 megabyte, and that's not enough to do much. Excuse me. Now, just to get back to the topic, mining Ethereum. I do recommend you mine Ethereum if you have GPU rigs available that you use to mine Bitcoin with, or Litecoin or any of the altcoins. It's better that you mine Ethereum. Otherwise, if you can actually develop or build your own rig, do so. I do recommend it, but don't invest heavily in it just yet. Just mine and store whatever Ethereum you get. If the price goes up really high, you would have enough Ethereum to trade and make some money, and then you can heavily invest when ASICs or miners are actually developed by companies. That's where you need your money, not GPUs. Now, the other thing here is I want to discuss the point where a lot of people are talking about if Ethereum will replace Bitcoin. Earlier, I was talking about what will actually take Ethereum to the next step. But here's the thing. Well, you need to understand that silver does not replace gold. Ethereum is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not Ethereum. Bitcoin is limited in supply, which makes it very valuable. 21 million Bitcoin. Regardless of what Core does, Bitcoin will remain the highest and most valued cryptocurrency because of its limited quantity. And that's very, very key. Here's why. In order for a cryptocurrency to be valued properly, we said the supply plays a role, the infrastructure plays a role, and this is the third thing. Establishment hate. Central banks don't hate Ethereum just yet, so it's not going to be valued high or more than Bitcoin just yet. It's not a threat to central banks just yet. I believe Ethereum is supposed to complement Bitcoin by facilitating the adoption and use of smart contracts that can be later settled in Bitcoin. So let's say you have a contract where you're leasing your apartment, and at the end of the month, instead of paying in Ethereum, you could just pay in Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is not as valued at a point where one Bitcoin is maybe 10,000 ethers. Certain things can be done that way. However, I'll come to another point where Bitcoin, where the contracts are just settled in Ether, and when would Bitcoin come into play. But just to get back on point here, the second point where Ethereum is supposed to complement Bitcoin is by accommodating faster transactions that can be later settled in Bitcoin. Let's say Microsoft is not going to sell Windows, their next Windows, using Bitcoin. If you have over 10 million purchases of, let's say, Windows 12, that's a lot for Microsoft to just wait and for the transactions to go through. They could just have Ethereum contracts where you just purchase the contract and you get the software key, a download link. You download it, you have the software license, and Microsoft takes the Ethereum and later changes it for Bitcoin. That's just one way of doing it. I believe Ethereum will be sort of the Lightning network that Blockstream is trying to develop, which I think is completely fail anyway. It's off the blockchain. Now, what will happen is that people will use Ethereum to pay things, sign leases, job offers, or they sign a employment offer, and you, for whatever work you do, you get paid in ethers, and you use it to transact and buy whatever. If you have enough Ethereum, you have the option to exchange it for Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin will be eventually used by the richest of the rich or the elites, whatever. Why? Because it's very limited in supply. Eventually, the value of one Bitcoin is going to be so high that not everybody will have enough Bitcoin. You'll maybe have a few Satoshis as your savings account. But eventually, I believe everybody will be using Ethereum and other alt currencies to transact, and later, change it for, if you have enough, you'll have Bitcoins. I think Bitcoin would be used where companies would, be raising startup funds, or instead of just raising 1 million ethers, they would just raise one Bitcoin. Manufacturing industry, for example, purchasing bulk materials with Bitcoin rather than Ethereum. Maybe they would just buy, a few tons of copper for, let's say, 3 Bitcoins. That's just my opinion, but this is way far into the future, uh, past the 2040 mark, where all Bitcoins are released into the market and mined. Um, Now, another thing I want to discuss is whether coins developed by central banks are a threat to Bitcoin or Ethereum. The answer is simply outright no. Why? Because think of it this way. Is the US dollar a threat to Bitcoin? No, we use it to buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin and receive US dollars. US dollars is printed in an infinite amount, and there's no limit to it. So when a central bank is actually releasing a digital currency, it's again infinite. They control how much there is. They're eventually just getting rid of the physical aspect of their money, their currency, and you'll only have digital aspect of the currency. That really doesn't change much. If you don't carry cash like I do, I barely carry cash. Everything, it's either a credit card or debit card or transactions via the bank. Everything is already digital. These other companies, they sell things in cash later on, I guess. That's about it. So what does it change? Not much. The only thing is that central banks will have a lot more definite control over your wealth. You won't be able to just take out cash from the bank and hide it somewhere. They can actually confiscate your money and take it away. It will never be programmed with the same security level of Bitcoin. And one thing you need to understand is that if you control the money supply of any nation, you control that nation. It doesn't matter if they have democracy or their absolute dictatorship. If you control the money, you control the nation. And that's what central banks do. They control the nations. That's it. It doesn't matter who you vote for. They're the ones lending the money. Do you go to the bank and argue with them about your mortgage? No. You don't pay your mortgage, they take your house. It's that simple. It's the same thing with nations. It doesn't matter who you vote in, central banks rule. Now, this is what they're trying to do. When they have Bitcoin coming in and everybody's using Bitcoin, then they lose control over you. This is very important. They don't want to lose control over you. They want to have control over you, and that's why Bitcoin is a threat. Ethereum not so yet, but their focus is on Bitcoin. But here's the thing: we win using Bitcoin. Once we adopt their digital currency or their whatever currency they introduce, they're in control. We're just subjects to them. So that's very important note that you need to understand. Now, back to Bitcoin here, I just want to leave end the video with a note is that I've been getting a lot of questions regarding whether Bitcoin is still profitable. Yes and no. It's not as profitable or worthwhile to mine as a single person with a few miners at home, unless the electricity is practically zero, free. If you have solar panels or whatever. Um, why? And especially after the halving, the you're not going to be making as much unless the exchange rate goes a lot higher than what it is right now, and much more than double. Um, the important thing is to a lot of people can. This is if you consider the cost of the equipment as something that you're just looking at ROI, return on your investment, the purchasing of the equipment. Personally, I don't think of it this way. I'm looking at the cost of the equipment as a sunk cost because it's irrelevant later on. The difficulty changes every 11 days. So it makes it very difficult to regain your investment um, unless you have a lot of miners. That's where you can look at your return on investment. But if you're just running 2 or less than 10 miners, you need to forget about your return on investment. Um, you're not gonna make it in time. Within a year, whatever you made is just you covered the investment, but then what? What did you really gain? Not much. The money you're exchanging bitcoins for is being devalued every day. Um, you haven't really, if you look at the value from a value point, you're not really gaining much. Um, in terms of numbers, yes, you've made more than what you could have just keeping that money in a bank account. So, what I'm trying to say is, unless you're trying to mine bitcoins to save them for later on, in a small scale, it's not really worth it. In a large scale, yes, there's a lot of profit, and I do recommend it. I do recommend mining Bitcoin regardless. If you can mine and save it, that's what I highly suggest than just spending it or exchanging it for cash. If you can just absorb the cost of electricity or any other costs until you can actually uh, cash in, that's best. That's the most important thing I wanted to go over. And the same goes for other currencies. I have a few Litecoin miners, ASIC miners, and I use whatever Litecoin I get to change it to Bitcoin, and I just save it. Whatever I could save, I save. That's just for personal. The miners I have, the Bitcoin miners, they're all for the business. I keep them running as much as I can to basically generate profit from that. And I do try to save Bitcoins because I do believe the price is going to skyrocket right after the halving event. And as you can see, the Bitcoin price have risen. And as I suspected, as we get closer to the halving event, the value will go up because people are going to try to buy Bitcoin right now in anticipation of a much higher price. So I know it's a lot to ask for a lot of you guys that need to pay the electricity bill, but if you can hold on to at least 30% of your Bitcoin that you mined, you will make a lot more money later on. And this is very important. That's all, guys. The next video I'll make, I'll be discussing transaction fees in Bitcoin, and I just need to do a lot more research. That's all. You guys have a good day. Good night.